Welcome back to the second half of Give Me a Break. Up front tonight, wrongfully arrested for drunk driving. It's happening in Florida, and as Chief Investigative Correspondent from Lisa Guerrero tells us, it's happening.
Imagine getting pulled over, put through a field sobriety test, and arrested for a DUI, except you were stone cold sober.
I was shocked. It didn't make any sense.
I was terrified.
That's what these drivers say happened to them. John Schoonmaker says he's as sober as any man can be. He doesn't touch a drop of alcohol.
I've never drank it in my life. I don't use drugs.
Yet, here he is, getting arrested for supposedly driving drunk in Florida.
There was absolutely no reason for this to happen.
Sure enough, a urine test later revealed what he knew to be a fact. He was stone cold sober. Schoonmaker is now suing the Brevard County Sheriff's Department, which denies he was wrongfully arrested. A similar thing happened to this man. One night, 50-year-old Harris Elias was driving in Loveland, Colorado, when he was pulled over for allegedly failing to signal. Suddenly, he found himself in a nightmare situation.
Obviously, I could smell an overwhelming odor of alcohol. Don't fall over there. Coming from your vehicle.
Elias was perplexed. Like John Schoonmaker in Florida, he says he hadn't touched a drop. So imagine his shock when police officer William Gates arrested him.
Place your hands behind your back.
Back at the station, Harris took a breathalyzer.
Go ahead and blow as hard as you can and as long as you can.
It came back showing 0, meaning absolutely no evidence of alcoholic consumption. Case closed, right? Nope.
I understand that you blew triple zeros, so that leads me to believe that there's something else going on.
I was dealing with an officer who was absolutely, in my mind, untrustworthy.
A blood test taken that night later confirmed what Harris knew to be the case. No booze in his system.
Exactly.
In a lawsuit, Harris says the police officer in question has allegedly arrested at least 4 other motorists for DUIs who later proved to be sober.
And there appears to be 0 consequence for destroying somebody's life, an innocent citizen's life, with a bad arrest.
According to court papers, Officer Gates regularly brags that he has one of the highest DUI arrest rates in the state. Now, amid all the scrutiny, his police department has launched an internal investigation.
I'm Lisa Guerrero with Inside Edition.
We tried to speak to Officer Gates,
We'd just like to ask you about the DUIs.
but he didn't want to talk. So we spoke to his boss.
Officer Gates makes DUI arrests in the performance of his duties. He's very dedicated to traffic safety, and we're extremely grateful for his service to our community when it comes to DUI enforcement.
Loveland Police Chief Robert Tyser.
Can you imagine how frustrating and humiliating that would be to be arrested for DUI when in fact you weren't drinking and blew a 0.0?
I believe that when this officer or any officer in this department makes an arrest, it's based on solid probable cause.
It has been the most embarrassing, stressful thing that I've ever experienced.
Charges against both the men we spoke with were dropped.
And which is a good thing. Now, this ever happens to you again, you have a right to file a lawsuit. You have every right to file a lawsuit and to claim that the officers weren't doing anything enough. They may deny it. In this case, they have higher power attorneys. But, again, if you weren't drinking, you were telling the truth. That breathalyzer and that blood test is the truth right there. Triple zeros, you don't have alcohol in your system. That's the truth. And even police officers want to apologize, and they look at this and it's like, you have triple zeros, we don't care. Put your hands behind your back. It's unacceptable. Now on to those gas prices. The gas prices are sky high up tonight. It's now over $3. The cheapest one is over $3. $3 a gallon to $4. Over $4. $4 a gallon. So what is going on? Here's Michael Gibson.
There's a revolution coming.
So why is oil prices going high? Well, mainly because of those pumps. But what else is going on? Here's Michael Gibson.
This is the site of the neighbor's rig number 1203. The Houston-based company owns the largest land drilling fleet in the entire world, with hundreds of rigs in over 20 countries. The county commissioner here says this is just one of a number of oil drilling sites that have popped up in northern B County since the price for a barrel of oil shot through the roof.
So we're in the process now of a mini lease boom, if you will, in B County. We're looking forward to it. We have Eagle Ford wells going in around Pawnee area that I was up there a few days ago. There were 5 of them drilling.
The commissioner also pointed out that Conoco just drilled a well and others are busy doing the same thing. Now in 2019 and 2020, B County received about $2.9 million in taxes from drilling activity. Last year that total dipped to $2.3 million. Commissioner Dennis DeWitt says if the price per barrel continues to stay above $100 this year, then he expects the county's mineral and oil revenues to shoot up as well.
And if it holds above $100, I look for probably a 30% increase, 20 to 30% increase in the amount of ad valorem taxes coming to B County, and that will help all the taxpayers because we possibly may be able to lower our tax rate.
Jason Smith is an oil field truck driver. He's cautiously optimistic about the prospects of another oil boom.
I'm hoping so. But it's oil field, it's up and down, you never know.
Lunchtime at the Pawnee pit stop has oil field workers crowding in here, many stopping in to grab a hamburger and fries. The general manager here says things have really picked up here lately.
For the business, it's been really good. It's picked up a lot for us. A lot of us have got more hours because of it. There's a lot of pros and cons to it. Cons of being messing with roads, positive is more business, it's more hours for us.
Commissioner DeWitt says he's heard that even more companies are talking about coming to northern B County and drilling for oil and gas. So the county may indeed see more tax dollars rolling in, along with some of those high-paying oil field jobs. Michael Gibson, 3 News.
Thank you, Mike, for that story.
And it's very terrible in this state. The more oil prices go high, you got to go find another state with a lot of cheaper oil. Try to understand that. All right. Coming up next, a former Carolina teacher is sentenced to 35 years in prison for sexual abuse. We'll give you the case. We'll give you the case as it happens. And then later, more school threats. Please don't go away. Now to some news about a former Carolina teacher who is charged for sexual abuse. He now faces 35 years in prison.
Former local teacher has been sentenced to 35 years in prison for sexual abuse of a child. Joseph Sandoval was arrested by U.S. Marshals back in 2019 after his guilty verdict. Victim impact statements were read in court. Sandoval is a resident of Portland and was a teacher at Calallen ISD.
So here's more from the Caller Times. He previously pleaded not guilty to the crime in June of last year. He continued to deny accusation that he constantly sexually assaulted a teenage boy over a 6-year period between October 2009 and October 9th, 2015 during the trial. Judge awaits sentencing, and today he got that sentence. His sentence was 35 years in prison. Now look at what happened 2 days ago. 2 days ago, the Caller Times did an article about a jury. Here's what it said. Our jury found former Calallen ISD teacher Joseph M. Sandoval guilty Tuesday on one count of continuous sexual assault of a child under the age of 14. It's a first-degree felony. Multiple witnesses, including Sandoval himself and his accuser, a teenage relative who took the stand and testified over the course of a 4-day trial. One of those times, the teenager testified took place in Sandoval's art classroom at Caroline High during the summer while Sandoval prepped the classroom for the upcoming school year. Another time, he took place at the state park during a Boy Scout camping trip. The teacher denied the accusations during the testimony. The sentencing phase trials is set to converse today. Sandoval has elected to have the jury decide his sentence. So now, his sentence is 35 years in prison. So he could get out. He could get out. Now he's got to wait till 2057. 35 years without parole. Now, this is what the latest with Colorado Times said. The jury sentenced former Caroline ISD teacher 35 years in prison. And it's the same article. In a statement to Colorado Times, Superintendent Emily Norris, who is the replacement of Rick Rodriguez. Now remember, Rick Rodriguez was replaced months ago because of accusations about tampering with grades. Emily Norris said the school district has been and always will be committed to the health, welfare, and safety of all students. Educators are held to standard practices and ethical conduct as defined by the Texas Administrative Code and Educators Code of Ethics adopted by the State Board of Educator Certification. The statement also said Caroline ISD will always do its utmost to ensure our educators maintain the integrity of the profession to ensure safety and protection of all students. Centerville will be taken into custody in the Oasis County Jail until he will be transferred to the custody of the TDCJ. Now, the TDCJ that's the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. So he's still he will take into custody in the jail until he gets transferred to the criminal justice system. Mind you, this is all about one teenager who testified. He denied all of this. That's what happens when you're accused of sexual abuse. You deny that everything happens. I'd imagine this guy went on Steve Wilkos. He went on Steve Wilkos, took a lie detector test to claim his innocence. If he failed, the police would be involved in this. They would work with the police in this investigation. If he told the truth, the charges would be dropped. Today's National Moments Day. I want to recognize one woman here at Corpus, Eva Longoria, who lives in Corpus. And I want to recognize some of my favorite others. My two favorite female weather people. I want to give a shout out to Carly Smith and Kristen Walla. So you two are watching this video, shout out to you. And I also want to give out shout outs to the Leslie Anime, Katia Uriarte, Sharon Ray. 3 of my favorite reporters. So all of you deserve the breakout. For those who don't know what the breakout means, the breakout means like a shout out. You want your name being broken out? We'll give you your shout out. We'll give you a shout out and give me a break. And if your name's popped up, then you deserve a high five. Now, spring break is coming up, and when we come back, we're going to see why Corpus Christi is expanding, is increasing the patrols. As spring break continues, as spring rolls into days right now. We'll be right back. Spring break is coming up, and with a lot of us, it means going out, partying to the beach, college people off, school off. But for many of us, it's all about those drunk drivers and the police presence. So the main question is, will it be enough police force ever to stop the flow of drunk drivers? Here's Brian Burns.
I think we're prepared. The city does know how to prepare for things, unforeseen things like hurricanes, but we also know how to prepare for major events like spring break.
City Manager Peter Zanoni telling City Council the city is better prepared for the next 3 weeks of spring break visitors, even more so than last year.
The police department will set up, as they usually do, an island command post, and patrol units will be on the beach for underage drinking and DWI enforcement. They'll be looking for both of those, underage drinking and DWI enforcement. The police department will be monitoring the traffic flow on Aquarius and other key intersections along Park Road 22, including Whitecap Boulevard, Commodore's Drive, and the State Highway.
Police say you may not see officers at the intersections every hour of the day.
Once we start seeing that there's congestion, we'll have officers out there working the lights, getting that traffic flow going.
The city has unveiled a webpage outlining its plans for the increased crowds expected the next few weeks. And police will be posting special notices on their Twitter page during spring break. Lieutenant Mike Pena says locals and tourists alike need to remember beach parking permits.
There will be people out there, the city employees, out there checking for beach permits. You have to have a permit.
Pena says you don't need a permit to drive on the beach, and the city has listed stores where you can pick up the parking sticker. The other major focus for officials is excessive drinking.
If you are intoxicated, there are many options out there for you to get home. Whether it be a rideshare, a taxi, or a designated driver, we don't want anybody to drive a vehicle on our roadways intoxicated.
Pena says that applies to driving on the beach as well. The city is expecting next week to see the largest of the spring break crowds. Brian Burns, 3 News.
Thanks, Brian. And again, drunk driving is illegal, especially underage drinking. That brings us to underage drinking. The law states you cannot drink under the age of 21. In the state of Texas, a minor may consume alcoholic beverages even if it's in the visible presence of a minor's adult parent, guardian, or spouse. Total possession is not explicitly prohibited, purchase is prohibited, but youth may purchase for law enforcement purposes. The penalty for underage drinking, making alcohol available to minors of Class A misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of $4, confinement in jail for up to a year or both. Your driver's license will also be automatically suspended for 180 days when you get convicted. That's the legal guide here. And the dangers of underage drinking. These are the dangers of underage drinking. And these helpful things from the CDC could help save your life. And this is a lot of information that parents need to understand. In 2019, Youth Risk Behavior Survey found that among high school students in the past 30 days, 29% drank alcohol, 14% binge drink, 5% of drivers drove after drinking alcohol, and 70% rode their driver after drinking alcohol. Other surveys found that 19% of young people aged 12 to 20 years reported drinking alcohol, and 11% reported binge drinking over the past 3 days. 10% of 8th grade students and 34% of 12th grade students reported drinking alcohol for the past 30 days. And 5% of 8th grade students and 17% of 12th grade students reported binge drinking during the past 2 weeks. But it's dangerous. School problems, social problems, legal problems, physical problems, unwanted, unplanned, unprotected sexual activity, disrupts your normal growth, physical and sexual violence, alcohol-related motor crashes, memory problems, misuse of various substances, alcohol poisoning. That's why it's very dangerous. So what can you do to make sure this doesn't happen again? This is an important topic for parents. I really need you guys to listen up. This could one day save your life. If your child is drinking, you need to make sure you follow those tips. First of all, First of all, you need to stay calm. It can be frightening, annoying, and angry to see your child drunk for the first time. Important to stay calm and controlling yourself while you're dealing with him. Speak clearly and calmly. Stay with him until he's sober. Take responsibility for your child's health. Don't force him to eat or drink. Don't laugh or make fun of. Don't punish him while he's intoxicated. Don't touch him more than necessary. Don't yell, criticize, argue, or threaten him. Next, find out how much your child had to drink. When he's able to speak, try to find out how much he is drunk. That way, in a way that will not encourage him to lie the amount. You also check with his companions at the party or drinking establishment where he was drinking, get an idea how much he consumed. Use the blood alcohol concentration estimate for men and women for girls to value your child's level of intoxication. Be aware that most people underestimate how much alcohol they have consumed, especially home poured drinks. 3. If you have to go that route, get medical help if necessary. Take your child to the emergency room if he had a fall sustained and injuries, he has taken other drugs, lost consciousness at any point since he started drinking. He or someone else indicates that he may have just consumed a strong alcohol beverage, such as vodka, whiskey, and may become more intoxicated. Unable to speak or incoherent, vomited, or you are concerned about the child's health for any other reason. If violence erupts, call the police. 5 is rehydrate. Sip water to rehydrate. Be prepared for sometimes. Drinking more water. You can induce vomiting in a drunk youth. If he vomits, take an emergency room treatment immediately. Next, keep your child alive. And finally, put your child in a recovery position. Because drunk driving is the real cost. And in a moment, we'll show you. Drinking and driving is the worst thing every parent, every kid would do. It has to stop. We have to better educate our kids. When we give them the keys to the car, we need to better educate our kids. That's why in my channel, I've uploaded one of the My Kid Would Never Do That series from Dateline. Talking about, in this one, it talked about driving. It can be a very scary thing. The first time you would give your son or daughter the keys to the car, not realizing at that moment, something bad can happen. A bad car accident, bad drinking and driving. And a lot worse. If we don't teach our kids how to stop drinking and driving right away, or teach our grown children one day, maybe they can end up doing the same thing. You could have, the one thing you could have learned is, you could have gone on the road and killed somebody. So the next time that you don't feel like driving, call somebody. Call an Uber. Call your parents. Call a friend. Sleep at the bar if you need to. Don't drink and drive. It's not worth it. We need education. Better educate your kids. Educate your teens. Underage drinking is illegal, and it has to stop. Right here, right now. Tomorrow on the broadcast, the 2 year to COVID, 2 years later, talk with some audience members from the baseball field about where they've been before the pandemic. Also, you running out of plans for spring break other than hitting the beach? We got some plans for you. That's tomorrow, today. And which reminds us, that's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Wednesday going to Thursday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday night at the softball field. For all of us here on YouTube and Give Me a Break, good night.